Hey, Michelle, I wanted to share something with you today that I saw a couple days ago, and it really struck me as interesting.
Oh, what's that?
Okay, so I was watching a movie, and it was from somewhere. I'm not sure. I believe it originated somewhere from Asia. But what was really interesting was whenever one of the actors took a drink of alcohol, a little warning appeared at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, really?
Saying something to the effect of, alcohol is bad for your health.
Wow.
And I thought that was really fascinating, given some of our conversations we've had about alcohol.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
some of the recent, issues around it being, identified as a carcinogen and all that.
Was this like a streaming service? What were you watching this on?
I can't remember where I was. I think it was actually in a plane. So that's where I'm not sure exactly where it was coming from. But I thought it was interesting for two reasons. First off, it seems that alcohol, at least in some parts of the world, is getting to be to this state on equal level as, when you watch a movie or a TV show, there's always the warnings at the start, language, gore, violence, whatever, smoking, drug use. Alcohol seems to be heading in that direction.
Wow.
And the other thing that struck me as interesting was just how quickly it's happening. Like, we have known that cigarettes have been bad for us for decades and decades and decades. And yet it's only been maybe the last 15 or 20 years that these warnings that smoking has been in these movie warnings. Whereas it seems now the time frame that alcohol is following, like it's only been, maybe 4 or 5 years that sort of alcohol has been in the public domain. Maybe scientists have known it's
it's been glorified in media and in movies, like The Hangover and
yes,
and beer. I always used to have an expression like, I wish my life was like a beer commercial.
Of course, yeah. They are wonderful lifestyles,
and they all look amazing, and they're all beautiful and young. And
none of them have beer bellies. Coincidentally, none of the actors have beer bellies when they're chugging back all those beers. So I just thought it was interesting that it's taking less time, it seems, for alcohol to sort of, go into, the same level as drug use and violence.
I wonder if part of that too, though, is that the tobacco industry was so incredibly powerful.
Oh, yes.
And I'm not entirely sure, because I honestly don't know the answer to this, if the alcohol lobbies or whatever, like if they have as much clout, like it took a lot. There's a great nutrition facts.org video. Just I can't remember which one it was, because there's so many. They're just so awesome, evidence-based videos. But there was one about like how many studies it took before the tobacco industry had to admit the harm. But like it was something like, I can't remember, 7,000. I might be completely off. It was a lot. It was a lot of published evidence, and why it didn't happen, at the first 100. I don't know.
Well, they hired marketers who, the tobacco industry knew that tobacco was bad for you, and then they hired marketers to say, okay, make it good. And that's where the entire there's a campaign in the 60s, like 9 out of 10 doctors smoke Pall Malls.
Yeah.
And this was an active campaign saying, hey, doctors think that it's okay to smoke, so don't worry. And that's also where apparently menthol cigarettes got their uptick in the 70s, because menthol was considered a safer cigarette.
Well, it made your breath feel fresher.
It didn't feel as gross, I guess, when you were smoking it. So it's interesting. But yeah, I think you might also have a point there that the alcohol lobby is probably less organized and less powerful than. And also maybe the world is a little bit more.
I think the world is more
open.
health conscious. The Gen Zs and the millennials are definitely moving the needle more on health and environmental concerns.
Thank God for the Gen Zs and the millennials. Thank you, Gen Zs and millennials.
And
I'll
you know,
stop making fun of you.
when I was raising those, I wasn't sure that I was going to feel that way.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. But thank you. And then we'll hope that Gen Alpha is even better. Because that's what I'm raising right now.
Yeah. I'm astounded at what my daughter in particular, and maybe just because she chatted more about it when she used to come home from school, but even the consciousness that she was getting in the school system was far greater than what we ever got.
Oh, did we get anything? I don't remember any alcohol or smoking education in school. I only remember driver's education, but not alcohol or smoking.
I remember getting some on smoking, but it wasn't much. Really? It was like one public health nurse came in one day or something like that.
Don't do it. Anyways, welcome to Nutrition for Noobs.
Nutrition for Noobs.
Nutrition for Noobs.
And this episode has nothing to do with smoking or alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. No, this was just my little rant because I thought it was really interesting what I saw in the movie. But yeah, on to the actual programming of this episode.
I love how you tie everything together because, I mean, it is one big picture. It is about lifestyle and it's about choices and it's about, you know, the reality that we have to debunk things sometimes, and it takes a significant amount of evidence, especially in this day of influencers. Like for us, it was the beer commercial and it was the Hollywood, you know, icon that we followed that, you know, like remember, like just back to your smoking, remember being a little kid. And this is more our parents' generation, but remember the iconic pictures of James Dean with the cigarette hanging out of his mouth
from the lips,
So there's all different kinds of ways that we are marketed to, and some of it is intentional marketing, and some of it isn't. Some of it's just influence, right? I want to be like them.
Yeah.
Right.
And so since, you know, as you say, it is the whole story, in which case you certainly can't just listen to one single episode of Nutrition for Noobs and think you've got the whole story. Therefore, everyone should make sure that they subscribe to Nutrition for Noobs on Apple or Spotify or YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
And write a review.
Make sure to write a review, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that seems to be the big influencer. You can't escape Apple, because that helps the algorithm find us for other interested noobs who want to discover us.
And we appreciate it very, very much. We love what we're doing.
And we love reading the comments, especially about my jokes. But that comes later.
All right. Are we ready to jump into a new topic? It's related to the last one.
Overdue for jumping into what the actual topic is. So it's related to the last episode, which was collagen, if I recall.
Right. Okay. And listener asked a question about, so what's the deal with bone broth? One of the reasons why people are often recommended or see through influencers, you know, that you should drink bone broth or you should use bone broth as a base for whatever. It's collagen is one of the reasons.
Okay. So they're related.
Yeah. Well, it's one of them. Like it's usually like collagen production, or it's gut health, which is probably related to the collagen claim. And, you know, to get a boost of, you know, minerals and nutrients, it's just considered to be, you know, something that's, you know, especially really good for the gut and for the bones and for the skin and everything. And you know, it's kind of related to the old chicken soup when you have a cold. So I'll touch on that as well.
Okay. It's interesting just because there is a bone broth restaurant that's opened a little bit down the street from me.
Oh no. An entire restaurant?
Yeah, no, it's an entire restaurant, which kind of surprised me. This was maybe a couple of years ago, but fairly recently. And they had sort of homemade marketing all over, you know, on their sidewalk stand, you know, the sidewalk signs and such, like bone broth for health and this and that and the other. And I always thought, I wonder. So actually, this is interesting.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
It is. And I was curious too, because, you know, this was one of those things that was because I studied holistic nutrition. We did all the science and all the evidence stuff, but then there is also a lot of holistic things mentioned that, come from Ayurvedic traditions or other traditions where there isn't as much evidence for, but there's a lot of tradition for in traditional cultures. And this is one of those things. Like, it's a very Ayurvedic influence, I think, to consider bone broth something that you have to make you feel better.
Okay.
So bone broth, obviously, it's broth made from bones.
Really? No.
Often,
you don't say.
Often the marrow, or other, you're boiling the bones and getting out that marrow, that other nutrients from the tissue in water until it's got the desirable sort of texture and the amount of broth that it, presumably contains all these healthy micronutrients and minerals. It can be used as a base for soups or stews. Some people just simply use it to add, extra, nutrient boost and flavor to grains, to rices, to cooking quinoa and using it instead of water, just plain water. But the latest iteration of bone broth is that it's a trend where you can go in certain trendy, hippie sort of areas. You can drive through and get a cup of it.
Well, that's like the restaurant down the street from me. So I guess I'm in a trendy hippie area.
You're in a trendy.
I'm in a trendy hippie area where you can get a cup of bone broth.
Okay, listeners, you have to understand. Kevin is my cool, trendy friend. He's always you knew about bubble tea about like 3 decades before it ever came to London, Ontario.
Because I'm a connoisseur of all things bubble tea.
Well, I would say this: you're a foodie. And
I am.
and you're very, very well read, and you're also an experimenter.
I'm curious. I'm super, super curious. So I see something new, and it's
why we love each other. I am,
of course, we do.
So curious. We're curious in different ways, which is very complimentary.
Yes.
So anyway, so that's what bone broth is, and it's popularized by celebrities. Famous podcaster Joe Rogan talks about it. So
we don't talk about him.
It's kind of one of those things. Okay, so, but let's put it under scrutiny. When you put it under scrutiny for nearly 100 years, there hasn't really been a lot of evidence supporting this. The results have been very, very mixed. There's one particular nutritional analysis that was performed by, some British nutrition scientists back as far as like 1934. That revealed that traditionally prepared bone broth didn't pack the nutritional punch that supporters claimed. And it had, roughly 10 milligrams of calcium, 2 milligrams of magnesium withdrawn from 100 grams of bones over 9 hours. It says that you would get nearly 5 times of those bone building minerals or more just from a single serving of broccoli. So
you could boil your bones for 9 hours, or just go to the garden and take a head of broccoli. Yeah, exactly. Or just eat it raw, and there you go.
So I find it very funny, and there were several different sources that cited this 1934 study that I looked at to bone up on this topic.
Oh, that's good. Ooh, cheers to you.
So I mean, this is a very frequently cited study. So if we knew this back in 1934, then, why are we still talking about these minerals, right? But it's, again, I think this goes back to the adage that, Dr. John McDougall used to always be famous for saying, is that people like to have good news about their bad habits, right? So,
right.
I like it, therefore I want to justify it, therefore, I'm going to ignore those things, and I'm going to keep looking. I think we all kind of have that bias about us, because I can be guilty of that sometimes, looking for plant information, right? Like I'm always looking for the information that supports my view. But I do like to think I try to be balanced. I try to look at all the different things, right? Which is why you'll never hear me say that you have to be 100% whole food plant-based to be healthy, because there's no evidence that says that. It's my preference. It's my choice. And I do think that I have a lot of health advantages over that choice, but there's no evidence. So I try to be balanced.
Yeah, but I wonder if some of the bias towards the bone broth is also due to there's sometimes a like a generational bias where people say food was purer or better in my grandmother's age. And bone broth was a way to use the entire animal. So it's sort of a good idea from that standpoint. Just like you boil chicken bones to make chicken soup, you don't waste any part of the animal.
It could be about that. It could be about frugality. It could be about scarcity. It could be,
just simply people saying, well, it was good for my grandmother, and so it's good for me, and I'm trying to maintain
And she was an influencer in her day before there was internet.
Exactly.
So anyway, so that's the mineral claim. I just wanted to get the mineral claim out of the way, because the oldest piece of evidence kind of already says, eat your broccoli. Kind of like the same thing, we said, last episode about collagen. So speaking of collagen, so collagen is often like one of the biggest reasons that people are toting, the bone broth cure.
Right.
Because we talked about, collagen being the most abundant protein in our body, and it's part of so many tissues and ligaments and joints and gut lining and everything, right? So obviously collagen, very, very important. There was this Times Magazine article, one time it was on the huge Times Magazine article, January 2016. Science can't explain why everyone is drinking bone broth. The article included excerpts from interviews of several different respected scientists. And this one guy, William Percy, as an associate professor of the University of South Dakota, Sanford School of Medicine, he stated, very similar to what I said in the last episode, Kevin, since we don't absorb collagen whole, the idea that eating collagen somehow promotes bone growth is just wishful thinking.
That does sound familiar.
Just because bone broth or stock contains collagen, it does not translate into collagen in the human body, right? So it's a very, actually collagen itself in that form is a very poor source of amino acids. And so they go on to say that you will get a lot more of the building block amino acids that you need to support your body's own production of collagen just by eating a diet rich in leafy green vegetables.
Okay.
That plants as a source of those building block amino acids is a much richer source of those collagen building blocks than you would ever get from bone broth. And it also would provide a much richer array of nutrients in quantities much greater than you would get. A lot of the bone broth studies too, there's a lot of inconsistency about how it's been studied to date. So you have to really kind of dive into the study and say, were they studying the bone broth on its own? Were they studying the bone broth in conjunction with there being other vegetables in the broth? And that can make a difference too.
Of course.
Okay, so not a rich source of minerals that's any better than eating broccoli, not a rich source of collagen because we can't absorb collagen. It's not absorbed. It's a triple helix molecule. You have to break it down into amino acids, and those amino acids are not going to be as readily absorbed as if you actually just ate the vegetables. Okay. So, and then there is, though, Kevin, there is one thing about bone broth, and this goes back to Grandma's chicken soup. That is true. Okay. So it is true that if you have a cold or the flu, that you might feel better when you eat chicken soup or chicken broth. So in a study that was published in 1978 found that sipping hot chicken broth increased the rate at which mucus flows significantly more than just drinking hot or cold water. So according to this, there is some truth to the age-old axiom that chicken soup helps to soothe the cold. So in addition to helping unclog your nose and sinuses, it also turns out that chicken soup broth inhibits the activity of neutrophils. Now, neutrophils are a good thing. neutrophils are a white blood cell. They are part of our immune response. And they are like little firefighters who go in and start fighting things. But sometimes when we get a cold or flu and we get sick, they can become overactive. And that, and they can then, that's when you get to where your body's producing so much mucus that you're all stuffed up and your nose won't stop running. So it can actually help to temper that neutrophil activity.
Okay.
So, this is where, there's a significant amount of studies showing, this is true. Chicken soup and bone broth can be really good in that situation. And, it's a viable thing. And grandma was right? Mom was right.
There you go. Trust grandma.
There you go. But here's the other thing is, are there other foods that will do that? Do you have to choose bone broth or chicken broth? And of course, the answer is no. So we can get a very similar effect as good, or, I guess we'd have to study it. We'd have to put it to the test, as Dr. Greger says.
Right.
But we know that ginger is very, very effective at this. So it's a well-known herbal remedy for exactly the same thing, for its anti-inflammatory effects, that it can help to quell some of the inflammation that we experience during colds and flus. I certainly have a very well-tested remedy that I always give to people when they ask me. It's my ginger remedy, and I slice ginger very thinly, and you put as much of it as you can into a pot of water, and you really you don't just steep it, like you decoct it.
Right.
Over 20 minutes or more, and I slice it very thin so that there's lots and lots of surface area, so we're getting as much as possible.
Right. And
sometimes I put some turmeric root in there, and maybe some maple syrup or cinnamon, whatever, and you can make it a very
good.
It is very good, but it is very, so that the combined ginger and turmeric are one of the most anti-inflammatory things that you can possibly drink. So tea, sometimes I put some tea leaves in there. So here are things that can do kind of similar to what we're looking for from grandma's chicken soup. Right. Ginger, tea. So the tea is full of polyphenolic compounds, and it doesn't matter whether it's a green tea, a black tea, oolong tea, or whatnot. Like, they all have these anti-inflammatory polyphenolic compounds. It's just that when the tea leaf oxidizes, the polyphenols change form. But you're going to get the most of the epigallocatechins from green tea, of course, and white tea. But you can certainly get lots of these great compounds from other teas as well. So enjoy the one you like. Right. Garlic, also incredibly potent. It contains lots of fructans, which have antiviral properties that help to alleviate cold symptoms and enhancing support of the immune system. My dad used to peel garlic and eat the cloves whole, and used to tell me this all the time, that that was how he prevented getting sick. Didn't leave his breath very good. However,
exactly. No one would. It stopped him from getting sick because no one would come close enough to give them their germs.
Onions are another one that it doesn't make the top list, but onions, garlic, all of those. And again, my dad used to peel the outer of an onion and he used to eat it like an apple. I think sometimes he did that just for the shock value, just to drive me crazy. Right, but right. I've seen him do it. I
have done that before. I have done that before, but my shock value trip. No. I don't eat it like an apple. But if I want to shock someone, especially my kids, get so grossed out when I do this. I make a peanut butter and raw onion sandwich. And what a nice face.
That's disgusting.
Oh, if only this was a video podcast, because your face right now, don't judge it until you try it. It is delicious.
Really?
Because the peanut butter somehow takes that bite out of the onion, like that sort of acidic, hot, spicy kick out of the onion. And it just mellows it out, and it enlivens the peanut butter, and it's wonderful.
Now,
it's truly,
does this have to be
wonderful.
Smooth or crunchy peanut butter?
like them both. So no, that doesn't matter. But red onion is the best.
I'm going to take your word for this one, Kevin. I don't
next time you're around, I will make you a peanut butter and onion sandwich. Okay, I will make me a peanut butter and onion sandwich, and you can have one single bite.
Oh my God.
It is.
I think the listeners enjoyed your Caesar salad dressing better than that recipe that you just gave there. That sounds like recession food. I've got nothing left and I can't afford groceries, so I've got an onion and some peanut butter.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know, but it is good. It is delicious.
We should study that. We should find somebody. I should get Deborah.
Can we get some funding? Can we get some funding out of this? Like, I'm willing to study it if I can get some funding from somewhere.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I've got one final spoiler for you as to what is going to be more effective or as effective as grandma's chicken soup to help protect against colds and flu, or to help fight them and increase and speed our recovery.
Okay.
Fruits and vegetables.
No.
I know.
No. Say it ain't so. Oh, Michelle, you're really, really shocking me now.
Vitamins, minerals, antioxidant compounds, supports immune function, hydrating, nourishing. What more should you be putting in your body when you have a cold?
So I don't know if you want to hear this, but can I share my go-to cold remedy?
Sure.
I don't know if you want to hear it after my peanut butter and onion story.
Well, I'm a little bit.
Do you trust
scared.
me?
I don't know. You got some. You used to have what was that? Marmite.
Vegemite.
Yeah,
Vegemite Marmite. Oh, delicious! I have some in my pantry right now.
There's something wrong with you.
That's a different podcast. That's a psychoanalysis podcast. And yes, you're right. There's a lot wrong with me. So my go-to cold remedy is a great big forkful of kimchi.
Oh, I love kimchi. I do that too.
It clears the sinuses and it soothes the sore throat.
Oh, you've redeemed yourself.
And it's I'm sure nutritionally it's probably not, it wouldn't do anything, but it just feels so good.
No, it's so good. It's so full of prebiotic and probiotic. Especially if it's a really, really good kimchi. There's we get in our one grocery store. I don't know which one. I'm not going to say brands. I don't know which one, but it's somebody local, a local Korean restaurant that makes their own kimchi. It's so delicious. And we can get really punchy, spicy kimchis, and you can get ones that are a little bit milder too, but so great for the gut. When you get that natural, prebiotic, probiotic food, it just really helps those gut microbes proliferate and create butyrate and yummy.
Oh, yeah. At our local farmer's market, there is a locally made kimchi that is just out of this world. It is so incredible. I think it's just the heat. I crave that heat so I can, clear out the sinuses and.
All right. Well, you've got to give me some next time. I'll take that. Totally. You can eat the onion and peanut butter.
You'll take the kimchi and I'll have the onion. Maybe onion and peanut butter and kimchi. No, that wouldn't. No, that's a
now
bridge
you're
too
just
far.
Getting odd.
Silly. Yeah, exactly. But I'll try just out of spite. You know that, don't you?
Yes, I
do. Don't test me because I will do it.
There's a big risks with bone broth that is starting to get talked about more. Is that there's a huge risk of lead contamination.
Ooh.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
Not good.
So it's even recommended sometimes, the one study that I'm looking at, it was responding to recommendations that it's being used in certain gut and psychology syndrome diets for people with the GAPS diets for autism, for ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, I don't really know why it's prevalently recommended for those types of disorders. But I think it might be due to the fact that there is a high link of gastrointestinal issues with people that have those disorders. And maybe that's why bone broth ended up in the mix. Anyway, doesn't matter. The fact is that bones are known to be one of the biggest sequestrers of heavy metals, and particularly lead.
Heavy metal thunder. Sorry.
So like bones can get very, very contaminated, and there's so much contamination in our environment. A lot of it comes from when we used to have leaded gas and all of the leaded paints and things like that were very prevalently used in society. So there's some of that still hanging around. But also like a lot of like, where are these bone broths getting manufactured from? A lot of them are like remnants of the animal agriculture sort of massive industry in these confined animal feeding operations. It's another byproduct. It's another something that they can sell. Right. That helps to increase profit margins. And as you said, using every part of the animal. Sure. But unfortunately, when you are boiling the bones to get this coveted broth, you're also getting
stuff you don't want.
So much lead concentration in that water. Oof. And the trouble is that if you're drinking that, then your bones are also going to be an excellent sequester of that lead. And it's going to absorb into your bones and into those tissues, and it's not going to pass through. And there is no way for us to get heavy metal toxicity out of our body unless we chelate it out. So we have to eat or drink something else that is going to bind to it in order for it to have a mechanism to exit the body, which is why these detoxification diets are so popular. So imagine in like, think about this from a health industry perspective. If you are a company that is fueling people's fears and using that to make money, you're selling bone broth out of one part of your of your company, and you're selling heavy metal detoxification out of another. And often you do see that. You often do
you're
see
selling the disease and the cure.
Right? Yeah. So here's an example. So the question became then, well, but what if my bone broth is only from organic chickens? Or what if, what if we're like, does the preparation, does the way that the bone broth is made, does that make a difference in terms of your exposure to leads and heavy metals, which I think is a really excellent question. What if we controlled for this making of it, is it going to be different? Or if the chickens are organic, are they getting better feed? Are they getting
before you boil their bones?
So anyway, there were 3 types of organic chicken broth, one with the bone, one with just the meat, and one with the skin and the cartilage. And all of the soups exceeded the maximum allowable dose level for lead. Even the boneless broth exceeded the lead exposure levels. So surprisingly, actually, the skin and cartilage in that study was shown to be worse. And it exceeded the safety level per 1 cup by like 475%.
So basically, it doesn't really matter if they're organic chickens or not. There's still lead in the system, generally in the world. There's lead, in which case the bones are going to absorb the lead, in which case when you boil the bones, you're going to leach a whole lot of that lead out, and then you're going to consume that lead. Yeah.
So to simplify what they just said, like there were, and just to give the perspective, there is considered to be no safe level of lead exposure.
Right.
None.
Right.
And I have my own little lead contamination story. Dr. Deborah Kyle and I went to China to do a tea research study. And we were at the top of a mountain in beautiful, idyllic, we were in Fujian province, and up there on the mountain where the tea farm is, they're mostly eating everything off of the land. Like, so it was primarily like a plant forward diet, just because there were no animals up there. Like it's a long way to go to get your food. So they were growing all of their vegetables and everything up there. But the rice was coming in. And we've heard me talk about arsenic and lead exposure in rice before.
Yeah.
And the same thing, the exposure from the rice is the rice when it's growing sequesters the lead and it stores in there, and then you eat the rice and the rice has got high exposures, then you're eating and you're getting the lead. So I came back and I had I had cognitive symptoms. Like I had visual dysperceptions, Kevin, where I was, so visual dysperceptions, like when you're putting a fork or a spoon to your mouth, I was hitting my cheek.
Okay.
Because my perception was that I was hitting my mouth, but I wasn't. I was hitting my cheek. Okay. And I was slow. And this was after we got back. And at first I thought it was just jet lag. Because it's like 24 hour or 12. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really bizarre.
Difference.
So anyway, I said to my husband, do I see the kids are saying that there's something wrong with me. Do you think that there's something wrong with me? And, it's always tricky for a husband to answer that question.
That's a wide open question.
And he just was very good. And he goes, well, maybe you should get checked out.
Very diplomatic.
But I was really worried about this because I didn't know why it was happening. And I wasn't linking it to my trip to China at all. I was worried that I had some sort of condition. Anyway, I connected with my friend, Deborah, who I had gone on this trip with. And I'm talking to her about it because I'm I'm really worried that I've got some sort of early onset, dementia or something.
Right.
And she just said, no, Michelle, it's the rice. And I go, what do you mean it's the rice? She goes, it's the rice. There's lead. There would be lead exposures in the rice. And we ate a lot of rice in those 2 weeks.
Right.
And I said, oh, come on. It can't be I said, we were eating everything organic off of their farm.
Right.
She goes, no, but there's she goes, I've studied it. There's significant exposures of lead in rice. So anyway, the reason I'm sharing that story is because lead exposure is no joke. I was 2 weeks in China and eating rice just as over the course of regular meals. And rice was on everything. They make different things with rice, and they make, other things with other than just eating the rice itself. Right. And there's congee for breakfast and all this stuff. And just 2 weeks of that exposure
was enough.
And I ended up having some severe cognitive decline issues and visual dysperceptions, and just, I would say, generally not feeling right in my head.
Right.
And brain fog and everything else. So just imagine if people are getting lead exposure through bone broth and they think that they're doing something that's healthy and they're drinking it every day.
That's up. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there is no safe exposure level of lead, and there's other heavy metals in play there too. So it is a risk that warrants really paying attention and not ignoring it, because it's significant. So
it's just easier to have some broccoli and you'll get all the same nutrients.
Yeah. Have some broccoli, eat some whole grains, have some asparagus. You can get your collagen in other ways. You can get your minerals, the rich leafy greens, your whole grains. Don't forget your legumes, your nuts and seeds, your granola. Yeah. And you don't have to sit there and boil your bones for 9 hours or pay for, again, I would say these bone broth powders and things like that. I consider it the same as the collagen powders. They're really expensive.
Oh, exactly.
It's an expense that you don't need to add to your cart. Groceries are getting to be quite expensive. Just go back to the beginning, the basics, the simple, just eat real food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
Well, thank you. Well, then I think I will probably be taking a pass at stopping at that local bone broth restaurant that's down the street from me. Good to know.
Make a good veggie broth. If you really like having the broth, you can do that with your leftovers, make your own stock and...
Exactly. And then throw some kimchi in it and you're set.
There you go. You could start your own fad kimchi broth, Kevin.
Kimchi,
just imagine.
oh, there we go.
That could be your $1 million idea.
You heard it here first, folks. Kevin's kimchi broth. Coming to a store near you.
I totally buy that.
We'll see. You never know. Okay, so it's that time, and I have to start with an apology.
Oh,
no. Oh, yes. Well, because you pointed out at the end of the collagen episode, you had asked if I had jokes from a listener's child.
Oh,
and I
yes.
said, and I prioritized my own child's joke over the jokes of a listener's child. So I have to humbly apologize, dear listener and dear listener's child, and say that to try to make up for this, I will read all 3 jokes that were provided to me. All 3. It's a 3-fer today. Not 1,
so happy.
not 2, but 3 dad jokes. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Lay it on me. They were cute. I remember.
They are super cute. So if you remember them, you have to act surprised when you hear the punchline. So why did the chicken cross the playground?
Why did the chicken cross the playground?
To get to the other slide.
Oh, excellent. Hopefully that chicken wasn't made into bone broth.
Let's hope not. Well, if it was, maybe it ended up being the same material as the slide was made out of. I don't know. A lead. Who knows? Did I tell you the joke about the skunk?
No.
Never mind. It stinks.
No. Your son's going to love these.
Oh, totally. And last but not least, did you hear the joke about the roof? Forget it. It's over your head.
Well.
Oh, ho, ho, ba-dum-bum.
Boom, boom.
So there we go. Thank you for sending in the dad jokes. I do, even though I didn't read them last time, I do appreciate them, and I did laugh out loud when I read them.
Thank you
Michelle
for doing that, Kevin. That could be a thing. Send in your dad jokes.
Exactly. If you don't have topics for Michelle, send in jokes for me, because I'm always looking for new ones, you know.
Can the listeners tell that we need them for our own personal entertainment?
Well, exactly, because I'm getting bored of Michelle. Let's face it, folks. Let's be, we're getting bored of each other.
I do have some great guests coming up. Everybody just needs to be patient. We're setting up some times to record, but there's going to be some really cool
I'm so looking forward to that. You've given me a sneak peek of some of the topics we're going to cover, and I cannot wait. It's going to be really, really amazing.
Yeah, awesome.
So in the meantime, you can write us at n4noobs@gmail.com, or you can connect with us on Facebook, facebook.com/nutritionfornoobs. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. And not
share,
there's no
chat about us.
I'm talking about YouTube.
Follow,
We're not on
follow.
YouTube. Follow, subscribe. Just subscribe, and
you can like our Facebook page, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like and follow our Facebook page, and subscribe to our podcast, and send us lots of money. Oh, don't forget to review the app, review us on Apple, and support us on Patreon. No,
we should do that. Why not?
We should.
All the other podcasters do it.
Yeah, I know.
We're just having too much fun. It's not about the money.
It's not about the money until it is. They couldn't pay me enough to make this worthwhile. Because it's just so much. It's such a joy to talk to you.
I get to spend more time with you than I used to, and I love that.
Exactly.
I was having Kevin Depps. What did we go that stretch a little while back? We went like 2 months without talking to each other, and it was
a long time.
I did not like it.
Well, we're back now. We are back in your ear holes, and you can't escape from us. We're everywhere. So, with that. Don't forget, everyone, don't drink your bone broth, go for your broccoli, and eat your greens.
And be real, everyone.
This has been Nutrition for Noobs. We hope you're a bit more enlightened about how your fantastic and complicated body works with the food you put into it. If you have a question or a topic you'd like Michelle to discuss, drop us a line at n4noobs@gmail.com. That's the letter N, the number 4, NOOBS@gmail.com. If you haven't already, you can subscribe to the podcast on whatever your favorite platform might be. Also, please consider leaving a review or telling your friends. That's the best way to spread the word. We'll see you next time with another interesting topic. The views and opinions expressed on Nutrition for Noobs are those of the hosts. It is not intended to be a substitute for medical, nutritional, or health advice. Listeners should seek a personal consultation with a qualified practitioner if they have any concerns, or before commencing any actions mentioned in the podcast.